Yesterday, we took a look at the first two standpoints. The first one is the gratification of sensual pleasures, sensual objects. And the second standpoint would be the danger. What is the danger of sensual pleasures? It's because whatever pleasures we get from sense objects, they are bound with impermanent suffering, dukkha, and subject to inevitable change and decay. Now, we are going to explore the third standpoint, the escape. The third moment, the moment of escape, follows from the second. Escape here is not escapism, a word that implies an anxious attempt to avoid facing one's problems by pretending they don't exist and losing oneself in distractions. True escape, Bhikkhu Bodhi says, is quite the opposite. The sanest, most rational, most judicious course of action we can take when we accurately recognize genuine danger. It is our search for an exit from a burning building, our visit to the doctor when we are beset by a persistent fever, our decision to give up smoking when we understand how it jeopardizes our health. Once we see that the objects of our attachment are flawed, beset with hidden dangers, we then realize that the way of escape lies in dropping our attachment to them. This is the removal of desire and lust, the abandoning of desire and lust. Chandaraga Vinaya, Chandaraga Pahana, referred to in the texts. The Pali commentators, not surprisingly, connect these three moments with the Four Noble Truths. Gratification implies the second noble truth for pleasure and joy. Aroused craving, the origin of suffering. Danger is the truth of suffering itself, and escape is the truth of the cessation of suffering, which also implies the Noble Eightfold Path, the fourth truth, the way to the cessation of suffering. Let me highlight this as well. So the third standpoint, after we have seen the danger of the source of our enjoyment, the impermanence and the suffering bound within the pleasure of the senses, then we will try to escape from the suffering. Okay, Sister Chai Kwan, would you like to continue?
The Pali commentators not separate.
The next one.
Sorry. In text 6, chapter 3, the Buddha uses this threefold scheme to make a detailed appraisal of three major objects of attachment: sensual pleasures, bodily form, and feelings. The major portion of the sutta is devoted to an examination of the dangers in sensual pleasure. It begins with a close-up view of the tribulations that a clansman, a young householder pursuing the ancient Indian counterpart of a professional career, might undergo in his quest for sensual gratification. As the discourse unfolds, The scope of the examination widens from the personal to the collective, encompassing the broader social and political consequences of this quest. It reaches its climax in striking images of the warfare and human devastation that follow from the frenzied mass drive for sensual gratification. Form is the physical body. The Buddha begins his treatment of form by asking the monks to consider a beautiful young girl. He then traces the progressive stages of her physical decay through old age, sickness, death, and the eventual disintegration of the corpse until it is reduced to powdered bone. To show the danger in feeling, the Buddha selects the feeling of a meditating monk in the jhanas, the meditative absorptions, the most refined mundane experiences of pleasure and peace. He points out that even those lofty feelings are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and subject to change. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Chai Kon. So here the Buddha explores the three major objects of attachment. The first one is sensual pleasures, the second one is bodily form, and the last one is feelings. Sensual pleasures starts from tracing our career, our professional career, how it is like from the beginning until it reaches the climax. It's striking image of warfare, which still stands true today if you look at the current ongoing war. And human devastation that follow from the frenzied mass drive for sensual gratification. The second one is form, how the Buddha traces from a beautiful young girl, traces from all the way to her through old age, sickness, and death, and eventually disintegration of the corpse. And the last one is more advanced. This is more applicable to those who have attained some meditative absorptions, to show the danger in feeling. Even the most refined mundane experiences of pleasure and peace, even those are still impermanent, unsatisfactory, and subject to change. Okay, Sister Saiken, would you like to continue?
Although the following texts do not explicitly apply the threefold scheme, its underlying presence is obvious. Emphasis falls on the aspect of danger. The two texts presented in section 4 again accentuate the pitfalls in sensual pleasures, but do so differently from the text of the preceding section. In text 6, chapter 4.1, the Buddha appears in dialogue with a pompous householder who imagines that he has cut off all worldly affairs. To dispel his complacency, the Buddha uses a series of similes that expose the deceptiveness of sensual pleasures to show him what the cutting off of affairs means in his own system of training. The use of similes prevails in text 6, chapter 4.2 as well, which pits the Buddha against a hedonist named Magandiya. The Buddha here contends that sensual pleasures seem to be pleasurable only through a distortion of perception, but when seen rightly are like the fire in a burning charcoal pit, painful to touch, hot and scorching. This passage includes some of the most powerful similes in the Nikayas. And there can be little doubt that the Buddha has not used them lightly.
Thanks, Sister Sakyan. This paragraph and the previous paragraph, it will be much clearer when we read the sutta itself. Here, the bigger body just gives the background, the context, so that we can appreciate it better, appreciate the suttas better. Sister Lin Toy, would you like to continue?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The use of imaginary also figures prominently in Text 6, Section 5, whose theme is the transience of human life. Buddhist literature frequently advises us to contemplate the certainty of death and the uncertainty of the time of its arrival. This recommendation is not made to induce an attitude of chronic morbidity, but to help us break our infatuation with life and develop detachment. For this reason, recollection of death has become one of the most important subjects of Buddhist meditation. The Buddha elsewhere says that the recollection of death, when developed and cultivated, gains a foothold in the deathless and culminates in the deathless. And yang ketiga, what is it? 7, section 46, number 4, pages 47 to 48. Here, the transience of life is underscored by counting up the number of days, seasons, and even meals in a single life.
Thanks, Sister Lin Toy. Here, this paragraph talks about the meditation on death. Recollection of death is one of the most powerful, one of the most important subjects of Buddhist meditation. When doing, if done properly, meditation, the recollection of death can lead us to Nibbana. I like the analogy given in the sutta where the Buddha counts how many number of days, seasons, and meals in a single life, to show how short the life of a human being is. We will explore deeper when we read the sutta. Next, Sister Singhui, would you like to read?
Text 6, chapter 6 is an excerpt from the Pala Sutta, which recounts the life of the disciple the Buddha called the foremost of those who have gone forth out of faith. Ratapala was a young man from a well-established family who was so deeply stirred upon hearing the Buddha preach that he at once decided to embrace the homeless life of a monk. The Buddha asked him to obtain his parents' permission, but his parents, being strongly attached to their only son, adamantly refused to give their consent. Ratapala thereupon lay down on the ground and refused to eat or drink, determined to die right there or receive the going forth. His parents finally relented and permitted him to become a monk on the condition that he later returned to visit them. Years later, when he visited his parents, they tried to entice him back to the household life, but since he had already attained arahantship, he was now beyond any possibility of disrobing. After leaving their home, he went to the royal pleasure garden, where he gave a discourse to King Kovaya on 4 summaries of the Dharma. This discourse conveys his profound insights into the depth and universality of suffering. Explaining in simple and lucid words, why he, like countless other capable men and women in the prime of life, chose to leave the comforts of the household for the uncertainties of the homeless state.
Thanks, Sister Singhui. This sutta, when I read it, it was pretty amusing. My friend joked, my friend actually had the intention to go forth, and I asked him, what if your parents refuse to give consent? Then he said, maybe I'll be like Ratapala. I lay down on the ground and refuse to eat and drink. But this sutta is mostly about Ratapala explaining the 4 summaries of the Dharma. Let me highlight here. And to explain why people would go forth and leave behind the household life. Let me highlight this. The comforts of the household. Okay, let's probably read a little bit more. Sister Aikin, would you like to continue?
Craving for sensual pleasures is one trap that keeps being bound to the round of rebirth. Another major trap is attachment to views. Thus, to clear the path to Nibbana, the Buddha not only had to dispel infatuations with sensual pleasures, but also to expose the danger in views. This is the theme of section 7. The most dangerous of wrong views are those that deny or undermine the foundations of ethics. Text 6, section 7.1, draws together a number of perils posed by this type of wrong view. Prominent among them is rebirth in the lower realms. Views also lead to one-sided, biased interpretations of reality that we cling to as accurate and complete. People who cling tenaciously to their own views of a particular situation often come into conflict with those who view the same situation in a different light. Views such thus give rise to conflicts and dispute. Perhaps no text in all of world literature has depicted this danger as dogmatic clinging more sustainably than the famous parable of the blind man and the elephant, included here as text 6, section 7.2. Should I continue?
It's okay. Thanks, Sister Aikin. Okay. So this paragraph talks about views and the consequences of wrong views. One of them, prominent among them, is rebirth in the lower realms if you have wrong views. In the modern days, you would see these clashes of views manifest in political fights. If you see on YouTube, the left wings versus right wings, libertarians versus conservatives, all this stuff. Okay, I think this is a good time to stop. Any questions or comments from you? If not, would Sister Singhui like to do the dedication?
愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了。我愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。
Thanks, Sister Singhui. Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have an escaped Saturday ahead. Thanks, everyone. See you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.